Hey, it's Jordan with TYT and TYT Network. Tuesday, July 5th, 2016. Hope you had a very happy 4th of July. There were definitely fireworks this morning, courtesy of a surprise press briefing by FBI Director James Comey. Comey came out, and the headline is he will not recommend criminal charges against Hillary Clinton, so there will be no indictment by Comey. A lot of people are not surprised. I am not surprised. But I think a lot of people were actually kind of surprised at how outwardly critical he was of Hillary Clinton. This was not a slap on the wrist. This was an extremely strong condemnation of her actions as Secretary of State. Pretty much, he brought it to the line where she could have went over the line with criminal acts, but essentially called her extremely careless and said she should have known better, and several things that might play a factor later on in the election.
Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. For example, 7 email chains concern matters that were classified at the top secret special access program at the time they were sent and received. Those chains involve Secretary Clinton both sending emails about those matters and receiving emails about those same matters. There is evidence to support a conclusion that any reasonable person in Secretary Clinton's position or in the position of those with whom she was corresponding about those matters should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation. But even if information is not marked classified in an email, participants who know or should know that the subject matter is classified are still obligated to protect it.
The first thing he said is she exposed top secret information to potential hackers.
We do assess that hostile actors gained access to the private commercial email accounts of people with whom Secretary Clinton was in regular contact from her personal account.
He said, from the group of 30,000 emails the State Department received from Hillary Clinton, 110 of those emails in 52 email chains were determined to hold classified information at the time they were sent or received. That is very important because it directly contradicts what Hillary Clinton has been saying all along.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material.
She made the distinction that she might have sent classified information that was at the time not classified but later changed to the categorization of classified. Comey says 110 emails she sent were classified at the time they were sent or received. He also said 8 emails she sent held top secret information. So top secret is one level under classified. 36 of those emails contained secret information, and 8 emails were labeled confidential, which is the lowest level categorization. I'm going to be reading from some of Comey's statements word for word. He said, although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. I'm going to get back to that later. He also said none of these emails should have been on any kind of unclassified system, but their presence is especially concerning because all of these emails were housed on unclassified personal servers, not even supported by full-time security staff, like those found at departments and agencies of the U.S. government, or even with a commercial service like Gmail. Comey also said her lawyers doing the sorting for Secretary Clinton in 2014 did not individually read the content of all of her emails, as we did for those available to us.
Instead, they relied on header information, and they used search terms to try to find all work-related emails among the reportedly more than 60,000 that were remaining on her system at the end of 2014. It's highly likely that their search missed some work-related emails and that we later found them, for example, in the mailboxes of other officials or in the Slack space of a server. It's also likely that there are other work-related emails that they did not produce to state and that we did not find elsewhere and that are now gone because they deleted all emails they did not produce to state, and the lawyers then cleaned their devices in such a way as to preclude complete forensic recovery.
In English, Hillary Clinton's lawyers went through all her emails and they decided which ones they deemed work-related or personal. Now, the key here is Hillary Clinton's spokesman, Nick Merrill, about a year ago, told Time magazine that her lawyers literally read through every email. Literally read the content of every email to decide what was personal and what was work-related. James Comey is directly contradicting that. He said they read the header and footer information. They did not read the content of all of our emails as we did. They relied on header information and used search terms to find work-related emails. So, if you're a journalist, you're supposed to be a little cynical. You're telling me that Hillary Clinton's lawyers, who just used search terms like I can use Control F in a Word document or anything like that, and they looked at header information to decide what's personal and what's work-related. Now, anyone with a brain knows if you're not reading the full content of an email, it would be very difficult to decipher what is work-related and what is personal-related. Some emails might have a mix of both. I know I send an email that could have a mix. If I send an email to Cenk, some of it could be about my vacation I just took for a week, and later in the email I might tell him what I'm working on. So the thought that Hillary Clinton's lawyers, who obviously are there, very well paid by the way, to protect her, they didn't even read the full content of the emails, and they decided through reading a headline or search terms what is work-related and what is personal-related, obviously leaves open a whole can of worms that many of her emails were not produced to the FBI that could have been work-related. So how they could have a thorough investigation where a good portion of her emails are gone into the cyberspace is very, very troubling. Now, folks on the other end are going to say, "Oh, you're a Bernie bro, you're a conspiracy theorist, yada yada yada." Does anyone watching think that if someone other than Hillary Clinton on my level or your level did what she did, do you think that our lawyers would be able to decipher onto themselves what was work-related and what was not work-related? Do you think that we benefit of the doubt and, our word would be good for it? What we decided was work and what we decided was personal? Do you think we would be able to just, on our word, say, yeah, we looked through all the emails? James Comey says they did not read the contents of all the emails. Nick Merrill, who is Hillary Clinton's spokesperson, told Time magazine last year that her lawyers did read all the emails. So according to this Time story from August 2015, Clinton Press Secretary Nick Merrill previously told Time that her attorneys had individually read every email to determine if it was a government document or personal correspondence. Quote, "Every one of the more than 60,000 emails were read, period," Merrill wrote in one email to a Time reporter dated March 14th, 2015. Now, that's quite the contrast from James Comey today, saying the lawyers doing the sorting for Secretary Clinton in 2014 did not individually read the content of all of her emails, as we did for those available to us. Instead, they relied on header information and used search terms to try to find all work-related emails among the reportedly more than 60,000 total emails. So, you decide whether Clinton's campaign and her emphatically or directly lied to the FBI, or they were just confused. I think we both know which one it was, but what you have here, forget whether legally she should have been indicted or should have not been indicted. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert on these things. I read a lot of experts. I'm not gonna just tell you what you want to hear. I really don't know because I'm not a lawyer. I do know from everything I've read and every experts I have spoken to, most people believe if it was someone lesser or on a low level than Hillary Clinton, she would have been indicted. That person would have been indicted. So I have to believe that the fact that this was unprecedented, there was no other government official at her level that used a private server, the fact that there were very few security measures put in place to protect classified information, whether it was intentional or not to evade, really to me doesn't matter. What matters is the risk you put that information. I think more important than all of this, I think what this indictment, or shall I say non-indictment, shows is there's different rules and different standards for the powerful in this country, for the elites in this country, for the establishment in this country, and people like me and people like you. And that is clear. Now, if anyone here, outside of politics, if anybody here truly thinks that me or you, or let's even say Bernie Sanders, who might be considered powerful, but is not part of the moneyed class, does not get the mega millions from banks, fossil fuel companies, we go on and on. Do we really think there would be an investigation for a year looking into any of us or Bernie Sanders? Do you really think that we'd be given the benefit of the doubt, like James Comey gave her, that there's no proof that she intentionally deleted any emails? How do we know why her lawyers deleted what could be thousands of emails? Because they declared it was personal instead of work related. I mean, I don't think most normal people would be given the benefit of the doubt that Hillary Clinton was given here. And I think that goes into the same argument that we're having over the working class versus the establishment and powerful. Working people in America, why Bernie Sanders did incredibly well and why to a certain extent Donald Trump is doing extremely well. Working people are sick and tired of getting a raw deal compared to the moneyed class, compared to the establishment, compared to the people in Washington and their allies who essentially live by their own rules, go to their cocktail parties, and essentially, unless they murder or do something severe, get away with whatever they want. It's called the revolving door, as I've spoken about many times. Now, there's one thing I want to talk about specifically, because Comey said that he had not been able to find any case where a reasonable prosecutor would prosecute for something like this. Well, there's a case going on right now that a Marine, a U.S. Marine, is actually being discharged for what many people, including me, think is a much less severe infraction than Hillary Clinton. I'm going to read you a lot of the story from the Daily Beast. Hero Marine nailed for secret email. What did he do that Hillary didn't? August 2015. No matter how much classified material is found in her personal email server, Hillary Clinton will no doubt continue campaigning to become our next president. Meanwhile, a decorated Marine officer who has deployed 4 times faces being discharged from the corps he loves because he used his personal email to send a single classified report as an urgent warning when lives were at stake. The stateside message from Marine Reserve Major Jason Brazier to Forward Operating Base Delhi in Nuzad, Helmand Province, Afghanistan, went unheeded. 3 young Marines were shot to death as they worked out in a gym by an Afghan team brought on the base by the same corrupt and double-dealing pedophile police chief whom Brazier had declared to be an immediate threat. Yet the only person to be investigated in connection with the killings is Brazier, the Marine who sought to prevent them. So basically what happened is this U.S. Marine, full name is Jason Brazier, was stateside in America, and he sent through email classified information to the Marines in Afghanistan about what he knew to be a corrupt Afghan police chief who was essentially helping. The guy's name was John, and he had been a district police chief of the very worst sort, according to the Daily Beast. Brazier and Terrell was another one of his colleagues, had determined that Jan was involved in narcotics and arms trafficking, as well as facilitating attacks by the Taliban, even selling Afghan police uniforms to the enemy. Jan was also alleged to be what Brazier's lawyer would later call a systematic child rapist, who allegedly ran a child kidnapping ring and acquired Chai boys with the help of U.S. taxpayer job development money. Essentially, this guy, Marine, was trying to warn other Marines that this Afghan police chief is no good. He's helping run drug trafficking and narcotics, and is also helping the Taliban, which 3 weeks later came on to a base gym and killed 3 people. So for this, that he stored and sent an email that was classified to his comrades, he's being discharged. Now, he said he didn't know it was classified, but at the end result, this man was rightfully sending information to try to flag people, Marines in Afghanistan, about this corrupt chief, and he's being discharged, among other things. Whereas Hillary Clinton did much worse, and she essentially gets condemned, will have a few bad days in the news, and then gets to go on and run for president. So this is what we're talking about. Is this guy being federally charged and going to jail? To my knowledge, no. But he's being discharged from the military, as well as other items. So I think what you have here is a lower level citizen incorrectly or even consciously, whichever one it was. He says he stored it incorrectly and sent it incorrectly on his personal email. But the bottom line is, he sent information for a good reason to try to save lives and was condemned and discharged. Hillary Clinton creates a homebrew server, sends thousands of emails, many of them which were classified at the time she sent them, did not have security on these emails, so Russian hackers all over the country, all over the world, could get access to these emails. And she's essentially very, very loudly criticized in a press conference, and then goes and campaigns with President Obama. Different rules for the powerful versus a decorated Marine who's now being discharged. So I think at the end of the day, we could go into whether she should have been indicted, whether she should have not. Personally, from everything I've read, experts I've spoken to, she should have been. But I think this crystallizes something even greater. In this country, if you are a politician, if you are aligned to a politician, if you are a corporation, if you are a CEO, if you are a Wall Street banker, if you own oil companies, if you have money and are a part of that revolving door between DC, lobbyists, corporations, media, and our politicians, pretty much you could do just about anything and get away with it. Because the people deciding your punishment are the same people you do business with. And I think that's a big reason that Bernie Sanders did so well. To a certain extent, Donald Trump is talking that populist message. Whether buck stops with Hillary Clinton, whether the establishment will finally be held accountable, we'll see. But I'll be doing more about the fallout from this email scandal the next few days. And for more, you could go to youtube.com/TYTpolitics. Thanks for watching.